everywhere, at home, in your car, at the gym, or at work. And it's probably one of the greatest inventions ever. What is it? Water bottles. I'm sure most of you agree that it is really convenient, lightweight, portable, and it can quench your thirst whenever you need it. But have you ever thought about what happens to you or the planet when you put that 32-bottle case into your cart? The truth is, big companies profit off of the simple marketing strategies and hyping up ordinary and sometimes toxic water to us. Actually, Dasani and Aquafina combined in 2007 made $771.8 million in bottled water sales. It also leaches harsh chemicals into the water, and the water itself inside is not actually natural or pure. Through the course of my research and evidence, I hope to sway your thoughts and feelings the next time you reach out for that sweet, transparent, exotic bottled water. I think all of us have heard of the brand name Fiji Water. And in 2007, a CNN Money issue of 101 Dumbest Moments in Business, Fiji made it to 20 because earlier that year they made a whole campaign with a slogan. The label says Fiji because it's not bottled in Cleveland. And the city of Cleveland didn't appreciate this, so they ran some tests on their own. They found that a glass of Fiji water actually had 6.31 micrograms of arsenic. And when they compared it to the tap, there was no measurable amount of arsenic. Fiji did this because they wanted to try to get people to buy bottled water. And other companies, such as Yosemite and Everest Water, don't even come from those high mountains. They're actually bottled in industrial sources or municipal sources. And Dasani and Aquafina is just filtered tap water. These big companies are trying to appeal to our adventurous side of the unknown and our sense of wonder of places that's been untouched by man, that's pure. But they also use our sense of fear to drive us away from our free tap water at home. They tell us that it's dirty and that it's bad for us, that it's kind of poisoned. But in some cities that may be true, but it's not the case for all cities tap. And actually, the EPA sets about 1,000 people to watch and regulate the tap water, while the FDA has less than one person to regulate bottled water. And even if bottled waters are found to be contaminated with exceeded amounts of chemicals or bacteria, they can still sell it under the rules and regulations of the FDA, but they just have to put excessive bacteria on the label.
Wow.
And what has this great business led to besides the $5 billion that we've spent in 1 year on bottled waters? In Peter Glick's Bottles and Sold, he states that every day Americans use 85 million water bottles. And in a week, that's enough to circle the globe more than 5 times. So where does all this plastic go? About 80% ends up in landfills and just laying in the ground or it's buried, but it takes about a couple thousand years for plastic to break down. Or sometimes they throw it into incinerators, but that's a bad idea also because once the plastic is melted, it releases harsh toxins into the air that we all breathe. And there is that small percentage that Good Samaritans try to recycle the bottled water, but actually it's not being recycled into water bottles again. It's being downcycled and made into a weird, cheap hybrid that's going to be thrown back into landfills anyway. And there's more that we have to worry about, not just the environmental aspect of the plastics, but about the plastics themselves while there's water inside of them. Bisphenol A, or more commonly BPA, is a compound that all plastics are made out of and is the #1 chemical found to be leaching from plastics of the water bottles. BPA has been found to cause cancer like breast cancer and other negative problems. BPA is an endocrine disruptor and can cause negative and long-term effects on the body. Tim Parsons of Johns Hopkins interviewed Lynn Goldman, a professor of public health. She states that in lab experiments with some animals, they saw evidence of brain defects and behavioral changes in them. And even with the animals that were exposed to BPA in utero, some of them had fetal death and a lighter birth weight. But there is a bright side to this. We can avoid it. With under every plastic container, there's the recycling symbol, and there's a number inside. And usually they go from a 1 to a 7. And the bottled waters that we get from the grocery store, like these ones, have a 1 underneath. And the 1s are meant to only be used once because they leach the most amount of BPA. So you don't want to be reusing that. 2, 3, 4, and 5 have no measurable amount of BPA, and 7 may leach BPA. But 6 is the number you want to look for because it's not made out of and has no trace of BPA. Now that we covered the transparency of the plastic, let's take a look at the water inside. Natural Resource Defense Council says that each state has its own regulations on bottled water. This causes problems when states import and export bottled water to each other, because sometimes you might get water that has really poor or low quality water inside. And the FDA doesn't even have rules or standards that of bottled water that's bottled and sold within its own state. And also, in general, the FDA's rules and regulations don't even come close to the EPA rules and standards on tap water. The Natural Resource Defense Council set an experiment with 1,000 bottles of water from 103 brands, and they found over 30% of those waters had exceeded the set amount of chemicals and bacteria inside of them. On the other hand, if you test tap water, you'll only find excess chlorine, and the chlorine is purposely put in tap water to kill any bacteria that may be present. Also, the municipal water is tested over 1,000 times a month, where bottled water is maybe only tested once a week. Now, there's a video of the famous Penn and Teller where they do their own experiment at an upscale restaurant in LA. They set up a water steward, kind of like the wine concierge, and they made up a few of their own bottled waters. And the water steward brought out the menu to the customers, kind of like a wine list, and the bottles were priced at $5. I don't think anyone would ever pay for that. But some of the consumers actually brought it out or wanted to taste them, and the labels all read like Glacier Springs, Mount Fuji, and Le Doux Robinet would actually mean tap water in French. But all this water was coming from the garden hose in the back of the restaurant. But when everyone tried it, they said that it tasted like it really came from a high mountain, and they could taste the icy crispness. So, bottled water is a great invention if you're an active person who likes to go camping or hiking out in the desert, or if there's a natural disaster like earthquakes. But when you're at school, work, or the gym, there's usually some source of drinkable water. So why pay almost 1,000 times more for filtered tap water when tap water at home is nearly free? Plus all the environmental problems that come with it from people drinking it. Remember, it's 85 million per day. And also the toxins and chemicals, bacteria found in the bottles themselves. So in the end, tap water is not actually all that bad, but if you still have your doubts, you can go and buy a filter, like those Brita filters. That is actually a really good idea to get any of that excess chlorine out. But next time you are thirsty and you're going to grab some of that Fiji water, maybe you should think twice about what's going to happen to you, your wallet, and the planet. Thank you.
Who did we just plug in there? Howard, yeah, okay, what did you think?
I thought the speech was very informative. The research was clear. But then I think you looked down your cards a little too much, and then that kind of like disrupted your eye contact with us. And your volume was good. And we could kind of see the anxiety and like kind of like messed with your cards a little. Other than that, your speech was good.
All right.